You know, I love the concept of family D&D, but y'all keep making me doubt that. The characters in this one are my parents and me, probably younger than 11 at the time. So my parents are really big on Dungeons and Dragons. For my entire life, one room in my parents' house had been dedicated, and almost every shelf covered in D&D and Transformers. Good taste. And I've been exposed to some, but not much D&D and tabletop role-playing game stuff throughout childhood. So my parents thought it'd be a good idea to play a D&D board game. We didn't have to make our characters. There was no DM and GM. It was simple enough for me at the time. So what could go wrong? We encountered a monster or event card, not sure what it was, I don't remember much, that had a short goblin-like creature that said we had to insult the enemy and then roll to see if we progress without damage or some punishment. Both of my parents easily came up with something to insult it with, but I was a shy kid at the time, and I've never been good at insults, so I couldn't think of anything to say, but my parents insisted that I say something, even suggesting some insults, but I was just not ready for that. But I thought if I had to say something, it had to be original. We spent half of the game just sitting there with my parents pressuring me, and I'm just trying not to lose focus because of this stress. Man, maybe I'm a dick, but I'm just thinking about what the goblin is thinking. Oh God, this is taking forever. I figured I'd be dead by now so I can clock out. Really being hard on that short guy. Maybe I should say something. Hey guys, are you gonna kill me yet? I'm on the clock, you know, I gotta get to my next shift. Just give us a second! Okay. Eventually I caved and said something I came up with, but my mom said out loud and suggested first, and we finally moved on. I don't remember much of the game, but I didn't really have fun with the enemy encounters, and that one incident made me think D&D just wasn't for me. Apparently this person does want to try again, and I'm sure their parents had good intentions, but sometimes you gotta give kids a helping hand. Look, not everyone's got a sick burn up their sleeve. It's not easy being a bully. I don't know if this counts as a horror story, but the campaign I'm in just wrapped up our first story arc. Our dungeon master is trying his best, and I really want to stick it out, but there's a lot of little things grating on me, and I'm thinking of looking for another game to play just alongside this one, because even though I'm newish at D&D, and I know it's not like Critical Role or similar games, I'm growing frustrated. First, no session 0. Bring him in. Wait, come on. Do this last bit? Guys, twice in a row? It's just... gotta learn a lesson. Hey, can someone help me? This guy's heavy. We all weigh the same. I didn't even know session 0 was a thing until I started listening to these stories. We just went straight into playing, even when I did ask ahead of time, hey, which class do we need the most? And I was told, whatever, which has led us to having a very unbalanced team. Too many healers, not enough range attacks, some classes doubled up, and other classes we have none of, which, yeah, unless you want 12 people in your party, is completely normal. Too many players. It started with 4 of us, then last week it grew to 6. This week we're at 8, actually 9 because one of the regulars had an emergency and left early. And while we were playing, someone came along and asked if they would play the following week, and I was told yes. If everyone was to attend in 1 week, we'd have 10 or 11 players. Okay, never mind, you're getting close to that 12 mark, my god! Too much hand-holding. While this was advertised as a beginner-friendly game, the DM seems to railroad us constantly in one direction, having NPCs outright get hostile with us if we disagree with what they're suggesting. Like, if we wanted to go left over a bridge, they would want us to go right into a forest. We meet NPCs we're made to think are important, and I wrote detailed notes on all of them, only for them to just never appear the next session. Last session, I finally gave up on taking notes altogether because nothing seemed important. The healers on the team feel useless, as anytime they try to heal after a fight, the DM says, "You're just gonna take a long rest." And with the amount of players, there's no chance to heal during combat because most only last a round or 2 before the enemy is killed. This is why you don't DM for 10 people. Yeah, I took the mask off for that. It pisses me off that much. Oh, and no roleplay. All combat. it feels as though we're rolling just from one fight to the next. The only roleplay coming from NPCs is giving information, and between ourselves as characters, there's barely any interaction. I don't even know some of the characters' names. Long rests are just used as HP and spell slot refreshers, and downtime isn't even roleplayed out. Even going into combat, we don't get a chance to plan it out strategically. We'll enter a new arena and instantly be told to roll initiative. I wrote my character to be very good socially and less so in fighting, so a lot of the sessions I just sit there and don't do all that much. Barely any loot. We're about 6 sessions in, we've increased a few levels, and despite all the enemies we've killed, there's been no loot. Not even coins or a dagger or anything, unless it's an item we specifically need for like a quest. I've not wanted to raise this as I don't want to come across a loot goblin. We all have 1,000 gold we've had since the start of the— Wait, hold on, what? Hey Wizard, I always wanted to ask, how are you paying for everything, you know? I mean, you always have money. Oh, well, you know, I took a small fortune with me before I set off on my adventure. Like, how much? Oh, like, I think I have about 10,000 gold left. 10,000 gold? It's not that big of a deal. I know you both are impoverished adventurers who are lucky to even have 10 gold in your bag, but, you know, I'm sure this doesn't change our working relation. My sister was kidnapped by a grand organization of assassins. I could use that money to pay off the bounty. Yeah, and I could use that money to fund the research academy to cure my mom of her deadly disease. Okay, well, I have a good reason to need this money too, okay? I mean, if you really need it, you know, for your backstory, we can let you keep some of it too. A large sailboat that I wish to afford. A luxury ship, and it costs 11,000 gold. So I must have this money in order. Split it half and half? Yeah, sounds good. Seriously, why do you think every game in history gives you less money when you start out? It really changes the dynamic. The combat is also too hard. The Dungeon Master gloats about how the enemies are written for a level or two higher than we were. Several times, a player would be one-shot if the DM hadn't panicked and retconned the move, which is so lame! Like I said at the start, the Dungeon Master is trying his best. He's really excited about his storyline. He has 2 years worth of sessions planned. And he's a really friendly guy. I don't want to upset anyone or have anyone be upset. But at times, I feel like I'm just a character in a video game that someone else is speedrunning. The game wasn't advertised one. I'm not friends with anyone at the table. So I don't feel comfortable with raising some of these concerns to the DM either. On the other side of that, though, I feel like it should make things way easier to leave. Do you have any idea how many LFG raid groups in World of Warcraft or Destiny I bailed on as soon as possible when someone was being racist or something? Look, all these issues aren't the worst thing we've ever seen, but they clearly come from somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience with DMing. You're playing Baby's first campaign, which maybe you'll enjoy, but at the same time, if you're not down for that vibe, it's perfectly okay to leave. This guy is gonna improve as a DM, but it's gonna take time. You're gonna need to wait for that. Look, I don't know what was advertised, but clearly this is not a game where role-playing is gonna be a concern, and this guy is still new to making good D&D combat, so the combat's not gonna be great either. Look, I don't think it's the Matt Mercer effect to want a more experienced game master, especially since a lot of these problems go beyond inexperience and straight up into bad D&D problems. But if you want to stick it out, talk to this person about it. On the other side, if you want to leave, I think it's perfectly legit. Some of my players are on the verge of quitting my game, and I can hardly blame them. We've been playing for only a couple months, and loot has already gotten so stagnant. I need a way to satisfy my little loot goblins. Thank God, I found DungeonDecks and the Vault of Wonders. This week's videos are sponsored by DungeonDeck and their new Kickstarter, Falco's Vault of Wonders. There are so many places to get unique magic items in Dungeons & Dragons, but DungeonDecks takes things to a whole new level. First and foremost, the cards look amazing. Each item is incredibly illustrated, perfectly visualizing exactly what the item is, with so many unique illustrations. Some of these items are entire characters on their own, like the Rod of Eons that speaks in 2 voices, one chaotic and one lawful, but both speaking in riddles and prophecy. I cannot stress enough that in Dungeon Decks, from the most simple uncommon item to the most legendary artifact, every item tells a story. Each one can serve as the catalyst for an entire quest, or be characters all on their own. Put simply, if you're tired of +1 longswords, Dungeon Decks, it's the clear way to go. If you guys are interested, then you can head down into the description down below or to the pinned comment so you can pick up the incredible items from the Vault of Wonders. Thank you so much to Dungeon Deck for sponsoring today's video. As always, supporting our sponsors does support us. Without further ado, I'm going to turn back into an animated rat so we can get back to the video. Hi Crispy, love your work and I've been an avid listener to your D&D tips and horror stories. Honestly, something I find myself tuning on while I'm at work online. Thank you, by the way. Now, I have a few horror stories to share when I've got a better chance to organize them, and not to make it too long or strenuous for you to read. So, in my current D&D group, we've had our ups and downs, again, stories to share another day, but currently I find myself in a predicament. We're in a grim, twisted fairy tale narrative with the main big bad evil guy who's been doing evil things to keep his lifespan going century after century. Can't anyone just do nice things to keep their lifespan going century after century? Like, instead of sacrificing the souls of the innocent. Like, I don't know, pick flowers or something. See, there's a character idea. Anyway, humans have short lifespans and aren't aware of how history's been repeating itself. Except for my own character. I play a rogue who has a strong association and connection to the big bad evil guy. Long story short, she's one of his victims who managed to escape to him thanks to the help of another, and she's gonna gather a group. Now, to cut a long narrative short, she's my first D&D character, and honestly, I've grown really attached to her story. It's been maybe 2 years since her first creation, and her story has been really fleshed out, and she's one of the more tragic characters, a cautionary tale of never being saved or rescued by anyone but herself. Now, I find myself in a crossroads where, with the consent of the group and the Dungeon Master, I could explore the darker themes of her character. Her PTSD flares up, and how she's been beginning to isolate herself on the verge of a breakdown after saving some other girls and returning them to their families. She hit a critical point and was found by another player, the cleric, who comforted her, and found herself going back and forth between memories of her past and present and blurring them. She wasn't attacking anyone or harming anyone, it was just a sad case of how she felt lonely and vulnerable, as she hadn't saved anyone before. During her crisis, she stayed in the cleric's room and begins remembering her torture, and the cleric makes sure she doesn't hurt herself. Now, the plan was for the cleric to guard her door and tell the party a plan for everyone to watch over her. However, what wound up happening is that the other players just bombarded the cleric, didn't take his word, and busted past the door to my character. Alright, that seems kind of extreme, guys. Hey, yeah, she said she wants to be left alone right now. I was thinking we could grab some lunch while we wait, or... well, I'm sure that's what she thinks she wants, but I know what's best, and therefore I believe that you should let me into the premises at once. I don't think that's a good idea. She said she wants to be left alone. I feel like we should give her some... Let me make one thing clear. Either you will let me into the premises, or I will cut this door down, and you along with it. Now let me in!
Whoa, okay!
Damn you.
Whoa, okay, dude, I think you need to calm down.
You will permit us entry. We will help our friend at any cost, including that of your life. We will break down this door.
Bro,
we will
what?
slay you. My character ended up throwing a knife. No one got hurt, but everyone felt what the cleric was doing wasn't helping my character. Yeah, not busting down the door. No way. I had to push my character past her PTSD moment in order to save the cleric from all the information. We both have ADHD, and all this is just a lot happening all at once, to be honest. I just had my character say she wasn't feeling well, cleric was watching her, and she just needed a moment to shut the door. This leads up to moments my character is checking in with the other player characters with questions about their goals, the objective of defeating the big bad evil guy, and what they'd do if she wasn't around, and so on. And it wasn't looking optimistic for her, as it felt like most would flee, run away, if not for her to just be around or bring them back to life if they were to die permanently. They chose to do an intervention to have my character talk to the party and express her distress, insisting she didn't trust any of them with her feelings. Now, throughout the adventure of rescuing the girls and returning them to their families, I've given more than a few hints and signs that my character is unwell, and she's talked a little with some of the others too. She's not one to express herself, and I wonder if that's where I went wrong with her. I thought I'd expressed how she just wanted to be told she was doing okay, but in the intervention, her closest friend she thought who understood her best mocked her past title and essentially said it didn't have to be her plan that they follow anymore, and how she didn't need hope to fight against the BPEG. She just had to do what mattered. Great advice. Bro cannot pep talk. I see in your eyes the same fear that would take the heart of me. And frankly, good. Who needs hope, camaraderie, and the bonds of fellowship? All you need is just to do what you need to do. There's no such thing as personal responsibility. Anyway, for Frodo! Hello? For Frodo? Guys? Great advice. I already have PTSD, and my character is essentially on a mission that we're doomed to fail. I had to play her drunk and downplayed her character because I felt admittedly cornered in a situation where I didn't feel like anyone outside the cleric was really listening to what she was trying to say. I just played myself as a mood-swinging drunk and childish to change the tone of the conversation and make it more humorous and lighthearted, since it all felt like, well, this is on you because you didn't trust us, so it's your fault situation. It left me frustrated at the end of the session, and everyone else seemed to have a fun time about it, but I felt like I did my complex girl wrong and had to take the hit. I know I cut back on more context and details, but it'd get pretty long if I added more. But overall, now the party's leaving the castle where all the drama started and going to see some elves. But honestly, I don't know what to do with my girl moving forward from here. Was I wrong or an a-hole for even trying to bring a serious discussion at play within D&D, even with the consent of everyone else? I feel like I'll just have to play her as just taking a step back from the lead, as she's been made aware other people want to do their own thing, and just robotically focused on her previous mission for revenge against the big bad evil guy. Basically, Crispy, was I an a-hole? And if not, was there anything I could have done differently? I'd appreciate any input. I do love my party, I love my character, but I don't know what to do. Hopefully next session maybe spark something. I have major doubts though. Thanks a bunch and keep up the good work. Ace vibes for the win. Man, I'm doing this one super late, so sorry about that, but drum roll please. Not the a-hole, but you could have been if you played this differently. This might be a hot take, but I think more people need to be okay with really deep roleplay just not panning out all the time. And that's exactly what you did, even if it was unintentional. You pulled back. You shifted the focus of scenes away from you. Like, for example, what you did with the cleric, shifting the focus of the scene away from your character's PTSD and towards helping the cleric, that was really good of you. Now, let me make this clear. It sucks. It sucks when you make a character with a lot of depth and you're not able to play it out, but you're not always going to be able to do that. I mean, basically, all of the quest givers in my actual plays, from Kalia Solfero to Yumi the Rogue Spectre, are all deeply problematic ladies, and sometimes I went out of game to explain things. If you want to do a deep plot, you gotta do checkups with the other people outside the game too. But sometimes it's also okay to let some of that depth go. I mean, Kalia ended up being a way less morally ambiguous character than I originally planned, just because the party ended up really liking her despite her more lethal habits. I think it's okay to talk to your fellow players about this kind of thing, to consult them on what they're really comfortable with playing, because agreeing to something before the game and actually playing it out, those are two different things. But I also think it was a good move of you to let this go for now so the game can run smoothly. A selfless choice and a right choice. I hope you're doing great. Here's my horror story. I think I repressed a lot of it, honestly, and it's kind of funny in retrospect, but during the process, it was pretty gross. It's a bit of a long one, I ramble, apologies in advance. So for some context and background, Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, V5, is my favorite tabletop role-playing game. I've got full 2-year-long campaigns under my belt, plus a lot of side stuff, and some of the established campaigns from modules, recently finished Giovanni, and I have done The Fall of London, and I always put a lot of effort and focus into character design and roleplay. Maybe it's the theater kid in me, but I've always focused on roleplay rather than role play, and my forever dungeon master has encouraged that for this particular system. My forever DM, who is a character in the story, let's call him Ventru. He's a Ventru main, and it's a running joke in our group chat. No, I'm not looking up if I'm pronouncing that right.
A few moments later.
I am of course referring to my own clan, that of Ventru.
I was pronouncing it right!
Look, Ventrue runs amazing stories, but they're all super political and backstabby character politic focused, which I find awesome. but the rest of our group doesn't always enjoy that. Ventra and I wanted to play more dark Vampire the Masquerade content, so when he saw in the Vampire Discord that one guy was advertising to DM a Sabbat campaign, he asked if he and I could join. Sabbat is one of the 3 main factions in Vampire, and Sabbat are the sorts that do every horror you can associate with a traditional vampire. The older Sabbat books really lean into this. The more modern ones caution against that sort of thing. Talk about everything in Session 0 though, so on. Ventura had never run a Sabbat game, but he and I were really excited to try it out. He let me know about the Discord advert, whether or not I wanted to join, and I was down, so I reached out to the DM to get things set up. We'd be in Discord voice chat, and I'd do rolling and character sheets on Roll20. The DM responds, "Sure, sounds great. Here's a new server. It's me, Ventru, DM, and one other guy that I don't know." DM has a bunch of PDFs. Anyway, his pictures of characters he's going to have in the campaign, maps, all that. It's good so far. Ventru lets me know privately that some of the characters are named characters from lore. Ventru knows a lot more about vampire lore than I do, so I don't recognize the pictures off the bat, and when I reverse Google searched, yep. Notably, one of the characters was Theo Bell, which apparently controls our little town and works for the local Sabbat leader's campaign. It's the same thing as running an evil D&D group terrorizing a town and having Elminster come tell you to behave. Which happens in Baldur's Gate 3, sort of, so like, how bad could it be? Though it's probably a bad sign that the first thing that comes up when I look up Theo Bell, Vampire the Masquerade, is a boom. I mean, predators can be stupid sometimes, who knows? I was a little nervous at first. I asked Dungeon Master about Theo Bell, and he had effectively said it was going to be a long-reach campaign. He had planned it all out. It was going to be amazing and world-stretching. Wow, okay. I asked him if he'd ever DM'd a Vampire 5th edition before, and he said nope. I asked him if he DM'd in general before, and he said nope. Okay then. I told Ventru privately. He agreed with me, but we give Session 0 a chance. DM then informs us on supposed Session 0. Since all 3 of us were so good at getting character sheet content done already, we'd go right to Session 1. No Session 0. You know the drill.
Dude, we're out. Wait, what do you mean we're out? We're out. We're out of Crispies right now. They're all in the respawn chamber. We've been killing so many because of a lack of Session 0s. We've got to slow down, okay? Well, I mean, you're standing right there. Hey, look, it's not my turn to...
Session 1 starts. We're in this tiny town in the middle of nowhere, and we have been informed we need to go to our employer, who is, as the DM put it, the most beautiful and powerful...
That pronunciation guide still has T's and S's next to each other. Doesn't help.
Okay. God, come on. Tzimitzi? We're gonna go with that. I was playing a Tzimitzi. They're kind of creepy sometimes. They can use abilities to shape their bodies or force shape changes on others, making these flesh bags with insane abilities. And they often look super crazy, like their organs are on the outside. Just think body horror and boom, you got it. My Tzimitzi was relatively tame, just androgynous and albino. Her horror was more so that she was an ex-nun who had destroyed her entire convent and was now worshipping Cain in replacement of the Christian god. DM, however, seemed to have a thing for this character. Every time he mentioned the Tzimitzi we were off to meet, he started deliberately making yummy noises at the body horror. He was licking his lips obnoxiously and giggling, and if we commented on it, he had no shame. Ventru asked him to calm down, and he did so for all of 5 minutes. We then came into combat as we got into town proper. There was Theo Bell in the middle of nowhere in a huge fight with some randos, and we had to choose sides. We decided to team up with Bell. Either team up with a legendary named NPC or random douchebags. Tough choice. One of our party members tried to use an ability to control one of the randos, and the DM said, nope, they have true faith. True faith is super powerful. Normally put on religious leaders, this ability to hold their fervor so powerfully they can resist supernatural abilities, mostly ones that aren't physical. Yes, true faith, and Theo Bell up against our equivalent level 1 party. A third party member got angry about this and complained. Then, DM promptly made Theo Bell just kill all these randos and walk off. Okay, so third party member was supposed to be our group's leader, so he said, "This is suspicious. I think we should leave." Ventru and I disagreed, and the DM said, "No, you gotta visit the hot Tzimitzi." See, I already forgot how to pronounce it. Our third party member was forced to initiate conversation with the hot Tzimitzi, and we were forced to go underground to intense catacombs under this tiny house where this named character Tzimitzi lady was hanging out, while the DM took 20 full minutes to describe her, and he made uncomfortable noises the entire time, while the third guy, Ventru, and I just like awkwardly stood there. Finally, Ventru had had enough. Third, Ventru and I had a private group chat by now, and we were all complaining. And Third and I had elected Ventru to talk to the Dungeon Master. Bro, you guys volunteered him as tribute. Come on. No, but seriously, that's a good move. Pick the best person to do that job. Anyway, yeah, Ventru is one of the mildest people I know. Ventru told DM that if he wants some advice balancing the game or anything, he was more than happy to help. But could we please keep the whole attraction thing for another game, as nobody was comfortable with it. The DM snapped, said fine, let's end the session there. Okay. Next day on the server, DM posts that his partner has cancer. Okay. I would link to r/that happened, but I think that subreddit got nuked, so whoops. Anyway, yeah, partner has cancer and is dying, so he's ending the campaign. Then we all got kicked from the server. To wrap it up, a week later, Ventru told me he saw DM posting the exact same advertisement on the Vampire Discord server again. So, that's about it. I don't know, guys, just a theory, but I think the Dungeon Master is lying about his partner, which, by the by, terrible thing to do. Don't do that. In any case, yes. This is another example of Baby's first D&D game, or in this case, Baby's first Vampire the Masquerade game, as this principle extends to whatever game, whatever edition you are playing. Now, what's interesting is, for a new game master, this might be a good setting, as this group is focused way more on the roleplay than the mechanics of Vampire. However, those are also skills a DM needs to master. You need to get good at role-playing and storytelling, and this DM clearly isn't there. On top of that, they are being hamstrung by their own attraction to an NPC, which is weird, dude. That's weird. I mean, you can do whatever you want in the privacy of your own home, but if you're gonna include other people in the game, then keep that crap in your pants. And also, don't be weird when people call you out for it. Come on. Hey, that's a wrap. If you guys enjoyed, you might enjoy our latest Q&A. We answered some fun questions there, including my least favorite D&D character that I've played. It's linked in the cards. Before you go, please do leave a like and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment. Can't run from critique to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, if you have your own horror stories, you can send them directly to us. There's an email down in the description down below. Send your stories our way for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But hey, even if you don't have any stories, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.
Just give us a second!